Well, since October 7th, America's college campuses have erupted with anti-Israel protests, propaganda, disinformation, and outright anti-Semitism. To counter this trend, Regent University has launched a new initiative to teach the truth about Israel and its amazing impact on the world.
The Israel Institute was established to provide students in the world factual information and analysis about the Jewish state, and to help the next generation of Christians to deepen their knowledge of and engagement with the modern state of Israel. This milestone project will be led by Dr. A.J. Nolte. Nolte brings an extensive background and knowledge of world affairs, with more than 10 years of teaching on Israel and the contemporary Middle East. The Institute will also amplify Regent University's already firm commitment to Israel.
Well, Dr. A.J. Nolte is the director of Regent University's Israel Institute. He joins us now. So let me ask the first question. What's influencing universities to sort of flip the script, if you will, and teach negative views of Israel?
Thank you for having me. There are a number of factors. Probably the most important of them are money, ideology, and traditional anti-Semitism. So money is the first one. For years and decades now, countries that are hostile to Israel have been pouring hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars into U.S. universities, often funding Middle East studies, often funding extension campuses for some of our elite universities. And that funding comes with strings attached. It comes with a mandate that some of that teaching is anti-Israel. But then we also have the impact of ideology, an ideology of intersectionality on the left that divides the world into oppressed and oppressors. And so what I would say we have on the universities is an alliance of that sort of ideological commitment with a lot of funding coming often from countries in the Middle East that are hostile to Israel and individuals in the Middle East that are hostile to Israel. And then, of course, we also have the amplification of that by social media. Social media algorithms are often displaying to younger folks, Gen Zs, information about Israel that is badly skewed toward a pro-Hamas perspective. I wouldn't even say pro-Palestinian, I'd say pro-Hamas perspective.
Well, how did the script flip? I mean, it's amazing to me to hear on college campuses that somehow Israel is the oppressor and it's a colonizer, and you know, here they are in the land of the patriarchs. They've come home, and how are they viewed as a colonizer?
The roots of this actually start in the 1960s and 1970s during the Cold War from the Soviet Union. So the Soviets were very concerned about their own Russian Jewish population, that they might sympathize with Israel and lean toward Zionism as opposed to Marxism-Leninism. And so they produced what they called anti-Zionist science that they then export around the world through the KGB, through other organs. And actually, they were the driving force behind the Zionism is racism resolution at the UN, which was subsequently repealed. Over time, that kind of left-wing anti-Israel bias morphs as we start to see a new perspective called critical theory. And critical theory says people are either oppressors or oppressed, colonizers or colonized. And so because there was this preloaded narrative that said that Israel was illegitimate, didn't have a right to exist, and was a colonial power, it was slotted into that oppressor category. Never mind the fact that Israel was created in the wake of the worst crime against humanity in history, the Holocaust.
Well, do you think the average student, let's just, you know, I'll pick Columbia. So they had probably the most visible protest with tents on campus. And then the president of Columbia famously called for the police to intervene, that the situation that had gotten out of control, it's a clear and present danger language. Do you think the average student at Columbia understands the narrative and the source of these counter narratives?
No, I think there's a hardcore of activists that absolutely know what they're doing. They know the theories behind it. They know the ideologies behind it. I think you have a lot of other students that are there because they've seen things on social media. As I mentioned, if you look at TikTok, even Instagram, the filters and algorithms tend to skew toward that anti-Israel perspective. And then there's a lot of folks that are there just because they're curious. And, you know, if they're chanting from the river to the sea, if you ask them to name the river and the sea, I'm not sure most of them can. And so there's those very different groups. And I would say at the Israel Institute, what we're hoping to do is get those persuadable elements that are, kind of curious but don't really know that much, but all they've heard is one side, and get them some accurate information about the contemporary state of Israel.
How's the education going to happen? What are the subjects that are going to be taught?
So subjects that are going to be taught, we're going to teach the history of Israel, the modern state of Israel. We're going to teach accurate information about what Zionism is, which is not racism. Zionism is the idea that the Jewish people, like every other people in the world, have a right to a homeland, and that homeland is in their biblical homeland. That's Zionism in a nutshell. There's nothing racial about that. We're going to teach about the contemporary state of Israel. And rather than, engaging in this hyperbolic rhetoric that we see on a lot of campuses about how Israel's an apartheid state, we're going to teach the truth, which is that Israel is the best place right now, aside from being a citizen in some of the Gulf countries. It's one of the best places in the Middle East to actually be an Arab citizen. And we're going to do that in 3 ways. Public engagement, social media, podcasts, events like the one we did with Ambassador Friedman. Courses, so I'm working on developing courses and educational programs, academic degree seeking and non-degree seeking that will launch in fall of 2026. And then also by training up junior scholars, because if we're going to win the war in academia, we need biblically faithful Christian professors who are going to stand alongside our Jewish colleagues and Jewish allies in this fight in academia, because we've got to win not only at the student level, but also by changing faculty.
How can people who want to help, how can they support the Institute?
Well, the first thing that I would ask for is your prayers. This work happens because the Lord is in it, and I think the Lord has opened a lot of doors, and so we're grateful for that. We appreciate your prayers. If you are able, please engage with us on social media. Visit our website at the Regent Israel Institute website. And if God is calling you to that, we would ask for your financial support. The nation of Qatar alone has put $2 billion into anti-Israel propaganda on universities across the country. And we're countering that with the help of the Lord and with your help as well. So if God's calling you to that, then we would certainly appreciate that support.
All right. Well, Dr. Nolte, thanks for joining us. And if you want to give into this, CBN Israel is supporting the Israel Institute at Regent University. We're providing seed funding, but we also want to provide ongoing funding so that we can get this message out. If you want to be a part of it, you can call us, 1-800-700-7000. You can go to cbn.com and just say, I want to give to CBN Israel. I want to support the Israel Institute at Regent University. You can text us as well, CBN Israel, to 71777.